tonight. Thanks to Josh for running the night. Thanks to Smith's Alternative for putting it on as well. Much love, much respect for supporting poetry. You know, poetry is seen as so marginal, but look at this, is a room packed full of people that are supporting poetry. Thank you. So this next poem, this last poem, is dedicated to the great town of Queanbeyan, New South Wales. 2620, struggle town, the Soweto of Canberra. You know what I mean? The Venice of the southeast Riverina district. We got trolleys in the river instead of gondolas. You know what I mean? So I grew up with my parents in a small flat on the top story of a flat block near Woolies there, if any of you know, just down from the hospital. Yeah, they know what I'm talking about. And you know, there was all sorts of people there, like from all around the world, trying to forge a life for themselves in Australia, and kind of developing a community for themselves from all these disparate elements. But oftentimes we would kind of hang out on the steps of the flats and just talk shit, and some of the dads would smoke cigarettes and stuff. And you would meet all sorts of scallywags and kind of troublemakers and scapegraces and shit talkers there on the steps of the flats. I knew none of their government names back then. Back then, some of the most wondrous people I knew were self-destructive, talented vandals who took to relationships with mallet and saw. But there was beauty in the streets. You could see it everywhere. In fishtails and donuts, the silver cursive that slanted off tires. In spray can fumes and opals of oil. In kickflips and crossovers, cuts and kebab shops. In sneakers that cluster hung like grapes on power lines. You know what I'm talking about? And in that something, could they see it too? The generation who printed a crystal font on its bloodstream. The entrepreneur with check pistol and silencer as thick as a ballerina's wrist. You see, this was the Australia I saw. No Don Bradmans. No Pavlovas. Actually, there were a couple. I like Pavlova. Pavlova's alright. No Pavlovas. No coastline etched in shale. No white sails at the opera house. No. These were suburbs, inscribed on scarified earth. An alphabet of exiles far from lands of birth. I'm talking pittance workers and remittance senders, traditional custodians and the kids of immigrants. You know the ones heard about, but not from. The ones talked at, but not to. The ones treated as if they're very small. In other words, us. Each day, like smoke, I unwound up the stairs of the flats. I smelled the oils and spices of many lands, I heard many tongues. In flat 7, a Macedonian man said, "Hey, shopreish, brother," as he massaged his elbow. The Tongan woman in flat 16 said, "Maloi lele," as she prepared for her 3rd night shift in a row. And my mother and father said, "Assalamu alaikum," when I entered flat 26. I learned that in Malay culture, a storyteller is named Penglipur Lara, a dispeller of worries, a reliever of sorrows. This is also the name given to a garden of delights where all cares are lost. And what delights in stories, what insights, what power to give voice to the worlds inside. Shit, you and I know there are many types of stories. I heard carnivorous tales loped down gentrifying streets, the hiss of talkback serpents, the whistle, "Go back to where you came from." I lost faith and I leapt into the whirlpool. They were scribbled hours, pilled and powdered, full of sex and camaraderie. Part of me knew on days like this the time had ticked, history slipped. We skipped words like stones from our hands, words that could never be retrieved, like love, like hate, like us, like goodbye. Yet somehow I found that something, like a magic key connecting ancient and new. I found it on beats, breaks, tapes and acetate, unordained lion hearts on throne self-made. Do you hear what I'm talking about? Make some noise, right? I'm talking about Tupac's and Lauryn Hill's, Rakim's, Nas's, Kendrick Lamar's, Public Enemies, siphoning El Haji, Malik El Shabazz, Jim Blas, Deltas and Brad Strutts, Deaf Wish casts and coolisms, hilltop hoods and horror shows. Do you hear? Do you hear what I'm talking about? I'm talking about the numberless underground kings and queens who taught us the power of our voices, of non-conformity, that each lyric, each windmill, each scarred 45 or fan of paint from a nozzle was a story aching to be told, unfolding before us the fractals of cosmos and starlight, a world all of a sudden unbearably bright. So linger now, linger with me. Consider that somehow despite the broken bottles and tattered bigotry, we could still own that something. Be that something, something airborne, something gold shot. Beings arranged in a calligraphy of rhythm and rebellion. People with so much damn resilience. It's impossible not to smile. So let it play. That's something. Let it play. Weave your stories into shining nets. Drag them behind zigzag and decked souped up cars, trains and trams through streets and sunsets. Trawl for the things you thought you'd lost. Because you, me, us, we are more than statistics. We are more than misfits. We are more than your dreams are unrealistic. This is the paint that drips from every brick, the spirit that soothes the weary limb. This is the new scripture of our lives, spelled skyscraper high in capital letters, bold. Thank you so much for having me, guys.